I would like to make a few comments on the piece I am playing today. The piece is called Six Fugues on the Name of BACH, Opus 60 by Robert Schumann. I will be playing fugues number 1 and number 3. Schumann's dates are 1810 to 1856. These individual fugues vary greatly in length, in character and emotional impact, but they all have one thing in common. They all begin with 4 notes, B-A-C-H, which of course is the spelling of Bach's last name. The way this works out in the alphabet, the B is in German B flat, the A and C are the same, and the H is B natural. So Bach's name is spelled musically B flat, A, C, H, or B natural. And listen to that again. If you listen carefully, you might note that these 4 notes do not belong to any single scale. So for a composer to work with this material, it will be a challenge to come up with harmonies that stay in a particular key. And after that 4-note motive, each of the fugues moves ahead with different material at the whim of the composer. Now I'd like to play that 4-note motive, the complete subject, and the entrance of the next part. Second voice. Then the third voice would enter and the fourth voice. So far, so good. So, what is different about the musical style of fugue writing of the composer Robert Schumann compared to the composer J.S. Bach? This question might best be considered by thinking about the musical era from which they came. J.S. Bach represents the high point of the Baroque period, and his death date is 1750. Robert Schumann, who was born 60 years later, after the death of Bach, represents the dawning of the Romantic era. By the time Schumann wrote these fugues, they were considered old-fashioned. And one would ask, why would Schumann write old-fashioned music for any particular purpose? First of all, he very highly valued Bach's music. In fact, urged his students to study and diligently play fugues of the great masters, to learn from them, particularly those of J.S. Bach. So composing a set of pieces based on the musical signature, as it were, of Bach's name was a way to honor his memory and his compositions. Now, the first fugue of Schumann, we hear counterpoint, which is a technical term for the combination of various melodic lines together, that is very similar in style to that of Bach himself. And along those lines, we also hear a special technique associated with writing fugues, traditionally, which is to vary the lengths of the notes. So in our BACH, initially they are at half notes. But as the piece builds up intensity, later on in the piece, these half notes are changed to quarter notes, and then varied after that. In fact, that part of the piece takes up half the first fugue. So there is a certain playing with the material. And at the very end of this fugue, not only do we have the notes in faster values called diminution, to make something smaller, we have the notes lengthened, which is called augmentation, to make them longer. So what had been half notes becomes whole notes. These are all techniques associated traditionally with fugues. So Schumann demonstrates his skill in writing in this form in the traditional style. But we come back to the question, what is different about Schumann's fugue writing as composed compared to J.S. Bach? Well, one big difference is that Schumann considers the fugue a vehicle for intensely dramatic music. This was in keeping both with his character and his temperament. And the way we know this is about halfway through this piece, he gives us the instructions, play gradually faster and faster. So speed up. We call it accelerando. And of course, this imparts an intensity and drive to the music. And truth be told, when the music goes faster, it also gets louder. No surprise there. Let me play a section toward the end of the piece where it starts to build up in speed. So, these departures from the traditional approach to writing fugues indicate Schumann is a composer in the Romantic tradition, and this is very important. He valued very highly self-expression and emotional fervor in writing his music. Let's spend just a little bit of time on Fugue 3. Fugue 3 is contrasting in every possible way from Fugue 1. It is much more brief. It is intimate, it is poignant with expressive, bittersweet harmonies, and it also is set not in the key of B flat major, but G minor. This makes a difference in the emotional effect of it. So we begin, it's our 4 notes as before, extended. The goal of Fugue number 3 is the expression of delicate emotional feelings in a very subjective manner. And even though this is a brief fugue, only 2 pages long, we have an opportunity to hear very subtle colors that are available on the organ, which make the music very beautiful. So it is to Schumann's credit that he could write 6 different fugues, each different from the other, all attractive, and base them on the name of one of his musical heroes. Enjoy these fugues, number 1 and number 3.